Guideposts for living wisely. We don't come into life with a map. There's no universal manual for how to navigate the heartbreak and beauty of being human. And yet, over time, and often the hard way, we begin to gather insights, small truths that help us move through the world with more grace, clarity, and strength. This collection is the result of such a journey. Drawn from decades of reflection, reading, listening, and lived experience, Guideposts for Living Wisely distills some of life's most enduring lessons into 15 essential principles. These are not commandments or rigid rules. They are guideposts, inner markers pointing toward a life of meaning, presence, and freedom. Each guidepost invites you to pause and examine what truly matters to me. Where am I giving away my time, my attention, myself? What kind of life will I wish I had lived when I reach the end? You'll find no dogma here, only distilled insight. And not because these ideas are entirely original, but because they have been curated with care, carried for years, and chosen for their power to orient us toward what's real and worthwhile. They speak to the deep desire beneath all striving, not merely to succeed, but to be fulfilled, to live authentically, to love well, to become someone you yourself respect, to die without regret. These guideposts are not quick fixes. They are companions. They ask you to live with intention, to come home to yourself, and to become the kind of person whose life is shaped from the inside out. This is not a map, but it may help you make your own. Welcome. Guidepost. Do not pursue valueless things. Time, energy, and attention, these are your true wealth. Not money, not possessions. These are the currencies of a meaningful life. And yet, while most of us guard our wallets carefully, we spill our minutes, our mental focus, and emotional bandwidth. Like they're nothing, handing them out to distractions, obligations, and noise that leave us drained and no closer to what we actually care about. It's a strange irony. We are misers with our money, but careless with our lives. The danger isn't that we'll deliberately waste our days, but that we'll unintentionally trade them away for things that don't matter. Because the world is full of people with plans for you. They want you to say yes. They want you to help them climb their ladders, not question if you should be building a ladder at all. But this is your life. You get to choose what to do with it, and who you spend it around matters too. Stay away from those who live reactively, who drift from impulse to impulse, unable to pause or reflect. Their chaos will bleed into yours. Instead, choose filters, clear inner boundaries, that help you focus not just on what's urgent, but what's important. Not just what's exciting, but what's essential. And perhaps the hardest lesson of all, real focus means saying no, not just to junk, but to gold. Sometimes you'll have to walk away from ideas that light you up, that feel full of promise, because you've chosen something even more important. Discipline is not the enemy of passion. It's what protects it. You can't do everything, but you can do what matters. So live like a miser, not with your money, but with your attention. Spend your life like it's precious, because it is. Guidepost. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. There's a quiet voice inside you. You've heard it. It stirs when something feels deeply right, or deeply wrong. It doesn't shout. It whispers. But if you're not careful, the noise of the world will drown it out. Expectations, traditions, expert advice, the constant hum of what others think you should do. But your life isn't a group project. It's not a vote. It's not a performance for applause. Don't waste your one precious life living someone else's script. Dogma is simply living by the results of other people's thinking. And while it may offer a certain comfort, a sense of belonging, of doing what's right, it comes at a cost. The erosion of your own voice, your own compass. To live wisely, you must choose the inner scorecard over the outer one. Ask yourself, would you rather be seen as great but know you're not? Or be great quietly and be misunderstood? It's an uncomfortable question, but it's a clarifying one, because trying to please everyone is a reliable path to nowhere. You end up shape-shifting to fit every mold but your own. You move a lot, but you go nowhere real. There is no map for your life but the one you draw yourself. No one can build the bridge you must walk to cross the river of your life. Others can walk beside you, but the path is yours alone. The greatest privilege you'll ever be granted is not wealth or status or praise. It's the chance to be exactly who you are. Don't squander it, so listen to that quiet voice. Strengthen it. Follow it, even when the path is uncertain and others don't understand. Because the life you build on that foundation will be your own. And that's where true fulfillment lives. Guidepost. Stay curious and interested. There are mysteries we will never solve, vast, stubborn riddles that stretch beyond the reach of our minds. Why we are here, where we came from, whether there is a God, whether time has an edge, whether infinity folds back on itself or simply expands forever. These are not puzzles to be completed. They are horizons to be wondered at. Life itself is a flowing enigma, a river emerging from an unseen source, winding through infinite variations of experience. It's a dome of many-colored glass, shimmering and shifting, always more than we can say. We didn't choose our moment of arrival, or the parents through whom we came, or the places our feet first touched down. And we don't know where this all leads, or when it will end. Yes, we carry beliefs, stories that give shape to our days. And they may be right, or they may not. The truth is, we don't really know. And maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe it's the reaching that matters. Because curiosity is not weakness. It is vitality. The impulse to question, to explore, to marvel, is what keeps the soul awake. Lose that, and the light dims. The world flattens. The days become mechanical. But keep your wonder alive. Stay a student of the mystery, and life remains radiant, meaningful, alive. The pursuit itself is the nourishment. So let yourself not know. Let the questions breathe. Stay curious. Stay interested. That is what keeps you human. Guidepost. Live every day of your life. Listen closely to your life. Not just the high notes, but the hum beneath it all. Life is not only found in the joyful peaks or the unforgettable milestones. It is equally present in the quiet boredom, in the ache, in the ordinariness. All of it is sacred. All of it belongs. You are walking through a mystery so deep and subtle that no thought can capture it. No words can fully describe it. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a grace to be received. And grace doesn't arrive only in epiphanies. It hides in the texture of your morning, the weight of your breath, the smell of rain, or the warmth of someone beside you. This moment, this very instant, is all any of us ever truly have. The past has already dissolved behind us. The future remains a fog. So whatever kindness you have to give, whatever good you are capable of offering, do it now. Say the word. Reach for the hand. Smile at the stranger. We do not pass this way again. Forget the distractions, the worries, the imagined destinations. Life is not out there somewhere. It is here, in this body, in this breath, in this now. So wake up to your own life. Not tomorrow, now. Because this moment, ordinary and fleeting as it may seem, is the key moment. And to live it, fully, consciously, gratefully, is to understand that life itself is enough. Guidepost. Learn to keep yourself company. You will spend your whole life in your own company, so it's worth learning how to make it good company. That begins with self-awareness, a quiet, courageous turning inward to understand what gives your life meaning and how you might draw strength from that understanding. There's power in knowing what's in your control and what's not. When you stop chasing what lies beyond your reach and instead focus your attention where it can actually make a difference, you begin to cultivate an inner steadiness, a kind of emotional gravity, and with that awareness comes humility. Because if we're honest, it is a miracle that we are even here. To be alive at all is an astronomical stroke of fortune. To love, to feel, to breathe, these are not entitlements. They are gifts. People often seek peace outside themselves, in nature, in retreats, in faraway escapes. But the truest retreat is within. You carry it with you. There is no quieter, more dependable refuge than your own well-ordered mind. It is always available, always free, if only you remember to enter it. Within that mental sanctuary, you can find clarity. You can remember the principles that anchor you. And from that place, you can return to the noise and chaos of life. not with resentment or fatigue, but with renewed strength and quiet purpose. So don't wait for the world to give you peace. Learn to keep yourself company. Learn to be your own friend, your own guide, your own refuge. Because when you do, you carry calm with you wherever you go. Guidepost. Be open-minded. Certainty is seductive. It feels like safety, like control. But in the real world, the ever-shifting, messy human world, certainty is often an illusion. Truth, if it exists at all in the purest sense, rarely arrives wrapped in clarity. More often, it's a fragile, evolving thing, shaped by context, perspective, and time. What we call facts today are better understood as working hypotheses, useful for now, but subject to change. History is filled with ideas once considered indisputable, later proven wrong. That doesn't mean we abandon conviction. It means we hold it lightly. So make it a habit to ask, how sure am I really? What if the game being played is not the one I think I'm playing? What if there's more to the picture than I can see? To live wisely is to trade dogmatic certainty for a kind of generous skepticism, a willingness to stand in ambiguity without rushing to conclusions. Life offers many ways of being, many paths that might be valid. Yours is not the only one, and it's not your job to convince everyone. Wanting others to agree with you is human, but needing them to agree is dangerous. The world doesn't need more people insisting they're right. It needs more people who can sit at the table with difference and still see the person across from them with respect. Open-mindedness doesn't mean you have no views. It means you know your views are provisional. It means you can hold opposing ideas at once, not in confusion, but in maturity. So live in the grayscale. Practice constructive doubt. Let your mind remain agile, and your heart remain soft, sometimes right, sometimes wrong. Always room for doubt. Guidepost. Avoid the identity traps. There are two subtle traps that can quietly steal your freedom. The first is believing you should be someone other than who you truly are. The second is assuming others should act and think the way you do. The first trap feels noble, even responsible, fitting yourself into the mold handed down by family, culture, or expectation. But in doing so, you begin to erase your own desires, your own feelings, your own sense of what matters. You become a character in someone else's story, a life lived by script, not by spirit. The second trap is trickier, more hidden. It's the quiet belief that others see the world the same way you do, or that they should. You get frustrated when they don't respond as you would, when they don't share your logic or your values. But here's the truth. Their path through life has been entirely different from yours. And so is their perspective. You are unlike anyone else on this planet. No one has lived your life, absorbed your moments, been shaped by your particular web of experience. Your beliefs, your instincts, even your sense of what's common sense, they are your own. And so are everyone else's. Yet we forget this. We expect sameness. We judge deviation. We assume that what's obvious to us should be obvious to all. But honoring individuality, yours and theirs, is the beginning of freedom. Freedom to be who you are, without shame. Freedom to let others be who they are without resentment. So don't waste your life pretending to be someone else. And don't bind others with invisible expectations they never agreed to. See difference not as threat, but as reality. That's where peace begins. Guidepost. Convert time into love. If there is a purpose to life, it is this: to turn the limited hours we're given into acts of love. Love is not a simple thing. It's not a feeling you stumble into. It's a discipline, a devotion, a lifelong project. For one human being to truly love another, to see them, care for them, honor them even in their flaws, that may be the greatest task we ever face. And everything else we do in life? It may just be preparation for that test. Love takes many shapes: a fleeting smile, a long embrace, a whispered forgiveness, a sacrifice you didn't want to make but did. It can be messy, sacred, painful, joyous, wild, quiet. It can bruise. It can heal. It can deepen through years or fade in a season. But when it's real, it always leaves a mark. And here's the thing: you can't fake love. You can't force it. You can't buy it, no matter how much money you have or how many honors you collect. You can buy admiration, sure. You can buy praise. But love doesn't show up for a paycheck. It only shows up where it feels safe, where it is invited, where it is earned. And how do you earn it? By being lovable, not in the charming, polished magazine cover way, but in the daily, imperfect human way. By showing up, by caring deeply, by giving more than you take, by being kind when it's hard, by choosing connection over convenience. Because in the end, the real measure of a life isn't how many people knew your name. It's how many people loved you, and how many you loved in return. So give your time to what matters. Convert it into love, fiercely, relentlessly, joyfully. That's the best thing you can do with this one wild and temporary life. Guidepost. Look the reality of life, straight in the face, with courage. To love anyone or anything is to risk losing them. This is the hidden cost of every hello. Eventually, there will be a goodbye. That's the deal. And yet we love anyway. Mourning is the price we pay for that courage, for opening our hearts, knowing they can break. It's a blessing and a burden, both, to care so deeply. But would you rather go through life untouched, unbroken, but also unloved and unloving? It takes courage to face the truth. That nothing and no one is ours to keep. Not forever. Not even for long. People are not possessions, and life does not offer guarantees. And strangely, it's in that very impermanence that we find the sharp edge of beauty. Because what can be lost becomes more precious while it's here. When you embrace this truth, not as an abstract concept, but as something real and present, it transforms how you live. You stop taking people for granted. You say, "I love you" more often. You listen more closely. You hold your child a little longer. Write that note to an old friend. Laugh more freely with the ones you love. Because you understand that the only time to love them is now. The future is not promised. And the past is already sealed. All we truly have is this moment, this short, shimmering now. So look life in the face. See its impermanence not as a reason to despair, but as a reason to cherish. Appreciate what is here, while it is here. Say your hellos fully. And when the time comes, say your goodbyes with grace. This is what it means to live courageously. Guidepost. Be less judgmental and more forgiving, of others and yourself. No one chooses their flaws, the weaknesses, blind spots, patterns, and wounds people carry. They didn't ask for them. And neither did you. Yet how quickly we judge, how instinctively we label, condemn, withdraw. We see a behavior and leap to a verdict. But what we're reacting to, more often than not, is our judgment of the thing, not the thing itself. And that judgment is within our power to soften, or even let go. What if we tried to understand before we judged? Or better yet, understand without judging. It's hard. We're wired to make sense of others through the lens of our own experience. When someone hurts us, it feels personal. But often, it isn't. Often, it's just someone operating from pain or fear they don't know how to name. And if we could see their backstory, truly see it, we might not approve, but we'd understand. The same goes for ourselves. We stumble, we fail, we say things we regret. But there's no shame in being wrong, only in refusing to grow from it. The human condition is imperfect understanding. The task is not to be flawless. It's to keep learning, keep softening, keep trying. There is no final fix. There is only forgiveness, again and again. So try to forgive others. Not because they're always right, but because they're human. And try to forgive yourself. Not because you're beyond reproach, but because self-condemnation paralyzes and forgiveness frees. Everyone is a little broken. Everyone is doing their best with the tools they've been given. So leave space for grace. Because in the end, what we all need is not perfection, but compassion. Guidepost. Avoid extremely intense ideology. Be careful what you let capture your mind. Ideology, especially the intense kind, can feel like clarity, like certainty, like purpose. But more often it's a trap dressed up as truth. It simplifies the world into clean categories and gives you the thrill of belonging. But the more you chant its slogans, the more it rewires your thinking, until what once felt like freedom starts to look a lot like mental rigidity. When we adopt an identity based on an ideology, political, religious, social, it can subtly start to think for us. We stop questioning. We start echoing. And every time we shout its dogmas louder, we're not just expressing belief. We're pounding those beliefs deeper into our own minds, reducing our capacity to reason and reflect. Crowds make it worse. Alone, people can think. But in crowds, they tend to abandon thought for emotion, fueled by fear, anger, belonging, spectacle. Reason disappears. Myths spread. Misinformation thrives. The loudest voices win, and the wildest ideas go unchallenged until reality finally catches up to them. And often, the people most prone to clinging to an ideology are the ones least at peace in themselves. When someone feels empty, unworthy, or insecure, they're more likely to cling to something bigger than themselves. A flag, a cause, a righteous crusade. It gives them the illusion of meaning. But often, it's just a way to avoid confronting their own life. So how do you stay clear? Practice the iron rule of intellectual honesty. You are not entitled to an opinion unless you can state the best version of the opposing view better than its supporters can. Until then, you are still learning. Beware the comfort of extreme beliefs. Think slowly. Stay skeptical, even of your own convictions. And when everyone around you seems absolutely certain, that's when it's most important to ask questions. Because clarity without humility is just dogma in disguise. Guidepost: know what is more than enough, and thereby what is sufficient. You never really understand enough until you've bumped up against too much, until you've reached the point where more no longer adds meaning, only noise. But true sufficiency isn't about numbers. It's not a bank balance or a lifestyle benchmark. It begins when you stop chasing the approval of others and start listening to yourself. Enough is what's left when the craving for praise falls away. When you no longer confuse success with applause. To find it, you must perform an honest audit of your needs, not just what you want, but what's been planted in you. So many of our desires aren't really ours. They've been conditioned into us by culture, by comparison, by unmet emotional needs masquerading as material goals. Ask yourself, what actually brings me peace? If a quiet afternoon with a book nourishes your soul, why chase things that only distract you from it? If your family craves your presence, not your paycheck, why trade time for more money when what's needed is you? Ask what's driving your desires. Is it your authentic self or your conditioned self? Is it love or fear, wholeness or hunger? Once you begin this inquiry with sincerity, something shifts. Your sense of identity starts to loosen from the world's grip. You begin to live not for accumulation, but for alignment. And here's the paradox. When you finally know what is more than enough, you often discover that enough is already within reach. Guidepost: be warm-hearted and tough-minded. Kindness is powerful. It transcends words and barriers. It's a universal language, the kind that the deaf can hear and the blind can see. When practiced sincerely, it can soften a hard world, heal old wounds, and make life more beautiful, for you and for those around you. But kindness must be paired with strength, because if you're not careful, the desire to be kind can become the fear of not being loved. And that fear can make you overly warm-hearted, too eager to please, too willing to say yes when you mean no, too quick to give away your boundaries in the name of caring. The danger is subtle but real. You begin to lose yourself in the process of trying to be good to others. You confuse being liked with being good. You forget that true kindness is not submission. It's strength wrapped in gentleness. So be warm-hearted, yes, but also be tough-minded. Know your values. Protect your center. You can offer love without abandoning yourself. You can show compassion without letting others steer your life. Don't let the goals or expectations of others quietly become your own. Notice where you've ceded control and reclaim it. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. Ask not only what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because the world doesn't just need more helpers, it needs more people who are on fire with life. People whose joy and gifts flow outward in meaningful, lasting ways. You matter most not when you disappear into service, but when you bring your full self into it. Where your talents meet the world's needs. That is your calling. Neglecting either is a quiet way of losing your soul. So be soft, be strong, be kind, and come alive. Guidepost. Be joyful and grateful. Joy isn't a luxury. It's the point. We don't work, earn, build, or strive for their own sake. We do these things so we can live, truly live, and that means living with joy. At the deepest level, beyond all the roles we play and goals we chase, what we long for isn't just success. It's fulfillment. That feeling of being used up in the best way, of giving your gifts fully, being part of something meaningful, and knowing you didn't hold back. This is the true joy in life. Not comfort, but contribution. Not ease, but purpose. Not being pampered, but being used for a mighty cause. One you recognize as worthy. To be a force of nature rather than a fragile collection of complaints. But joy rarely shows up alone. It's born from gratitude. A grateful heart is the source of all other virtues. It awakens kindness, deepens humility, and opens generosity. When you realize how lucky you are, how much of what you now enjoy was once only a distant hope, you begin to see your life differently. You stop craving more and start savoring what already is. And when you feel the grace of what you've been given, you naturally want to share it. Not out of obligation, but out of abundance. So don't let longing ruin your present. Don't spoil what you have by obsessing over what you don't. Look around. Really look. There's so much here already. Joy is not something you chase. It's something you notice. Something you let in. Let your days be full, not just of doing, but of being. Be joyful. Be grateful. That is the true wealth of a life well lived. Guidepost. Live as you will have wished to have lived when you are dying. At some point, maybe soon, maybe far from now, you will look back. You will measure the life you've lived not by titles or possessions, but by meaning. And in that moment, clarity will come. What mattered, what didn't, what you're proud of, and what you wish you had done differently. You don't need to wait until that moment to know what it will feel like. The awareness of death, when accepted rather than feared, sharpens life. It peels away the noise, the performance, the need to impress. What's left is something purer, your heart's true longing. So ask yourself now, what will I wish I had done more of? What will I regret not doing if I let fear or distraction steal my time? Listen to the echoes of the regrets of the dying. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. These are not just the regrets of others. They are warnings and invitations. The happiest person is not the one with the longest list of accomplishments, but the one who sees a thread of meaning running from their beginning to their end, and can say, I live true. So let that imagined future self guide your choices now. Live in a way that will make your reflection gentle, not heavy with sorrow. Live courageously, expressively, and with joy. Live as you will have wished to have lived, so that when the time comes, you are not filled with longing for what could have been, but peace for what was. Conclusion. There is no single path to a good life, but there are common threads, quiet truths that echo across time, tradition, and experience. These guideposts do not claim to be final answers. Rather, they are invitations to pause, to reflect, to live more consciously and courageously. If you've read this far, perhaps you've recognized something, not just new ideas, but old intuitions coming back to the surface. That's how wisdom often arrives, not as discovery, but as remembering. Each guidepost is a companion. Some will speak to you more than others. Some may guide you for a season, then fall away, only to return later with new meaning. That's as it should be. This collection is not meant to be followed like a checklist. It's meant to be carried like a compass. A life lived wisely is not a perfect life. It is one marked by intention, presence, curiosity, and care. It is a life shaped from the inside out, not by what the world demands, but by what your soul recognizes as true. So keep these guideposts close. Revisit them when you need grounding. Revise them as you grow. And above all, live in such a way that when your life nears its end, you can look back not with regret, but with peace. That is the gift of wisdom. Not to escape life's messiness, but to navigate it with a clearer heart. May you live wisely, and may you live well.